Ichiro Inuyashiki is a family man devoted to providing for his family, but his family doesn't appreciate his efforts and constantly complains about his choices, like the recently bought house which his family finds too crammed up. He's left alone eating sushi at his new home, celebrating their move while his wife and two children go out to eat. His problems don't end there, as at work too, he is chastised by his superior for doing work perfunctorily. In the evening, while sitting alone as usual, staring at the night sky, an abandoned dog walks in through his gate with a note tied to its collar asking whoever finds it to take care of it. Inuyashiki is delighted to find someone who wouldn't ignore him, but his wife asks him to get rid of the dog and hands him an envelope that reveals he has cancer. Upon further discussion with the doctor the next day, the doctor tells him that the cancer has spread throughout his body and he should probably talk with his family. Once back home, Inuyashiki calls his wife and kids, but no one picks up. And when he decides to tell them in the evening, their quibble doesn't allow him to say anything. After dinner, he is forced to take the dog to the park, where he tries to leave it, but it keeps following him. In the end, he breaks down and cries, apologizing to the dog for leaving it because he knows how it feels to be unwanted. He also sees a young man sitting on a bench nearby, lost in deep thought, when suddenly, a bright light attracts their attention, making the dog run in fear, and within seconds, something hits the ground with great force, killing the two men instantly. Miraculously, Inuyashiki wakes up in the park the following day and is surprised to find he can see without his glasses. He returns home and for some reason, he's not able to taste the food, so he goes into his room and in an obligatory shirtless scene, finds out his body has been turned into a sophisticated machine that allows him to convert each of his body parts into a weapon. It appears he was a victim of a crash landing of an alien force who reconstructed him using advanced knowledge and machinery to make him almost a super senior with superpowers. However, Inuyashiki was not the only one to have been resurrected after being killed by the alien force. Hiro Shishigami, a quiet teenage schoolboy, was also reconstructed with similar powers as Inuyashiki. After school, he visits his friend Ando, who is on leave because of recent bullying at school, and displays his newfound powers by shooting down a pigeon just by pointing at it. He takes Ando to an underground parking and using his powers, he moves the parked cars and makes them ram into each other before beginning his obligatory shirtless scene and showing Ando his true transformation. Hiro dubs himself a superhero, making Ando excited. Meanwhile, Inuyashiki still feels he is hallucinating as there is no way he could suddenly possess powers. And lost in a state of perplexity, he reaches his workplace where his boss fires him because of his poor performance that caused losses to the company. Dejected, he walks out of the office and finds a struggling pigeon lying on the side of the road. He picks the dying bird out of sympathy, but to his astonishment, his cybernetic eye identifies the internal injury in the pigeon's body and automatically heals it, returning it to health. With hopeful eyes and a broad smile, he sees the bird soar into the sky and starts noticing how elevated his senses have become when he hears a mother's plea to the doctor to save her terminally ill son. He walks into the hospital and meets the little kid lying on the bed. And using his abilities, he transfers life force into the body and cures him, astonishing the doctors and bringing joy to the mother. He walks out of the hospital crying tears of joy as he realized he just saved a precious life. Ando finally decides to go to school after mustering up the courage to face his bullies, but becomes a recipient of their mocking as soon as he steps inside the class. However, Hiro will not let it happen this time, and he grabs one of the bullies' wrist and makes him beg Ando for forgiveness. He could have done severe damage if it were not for Ando, who stopped him from doing anything to the bully in front of the entire class. Another classmate, Shion Watanabe, a quiet girl, notices the change in Hiro and decides to confess her feelings and soon apologize for it, but Hiro smiles and thanks her for opening up. Walking back home, he calls his mom, who works in a restaurant, and that day too she is working late. His dad left his mom to be with a younger woman, but still his mom worries about his dad's health and asks him to check up on him. So Hiro goes to see his dad, who hands him the monthly maintenance before being invited into the house for dinner. His dad's new family is welcoming and regards him as a part of the family, but seeing them happy, he is tempted to use his powers on his dad, and as it looks like he's going to make a move, he lowers his finger and decides against it. He soon leaves, but can't get the image of them being a happy family out of his head, and decides to kill an innocent family for catharsis. Two people who gain the same power are utilizing it antithetically to each other, where one is saving lives and spreading happiness, and the other has become a victim of his circumstances and destroying happiness. Hiro doesn't stop there and is about to take more lives when Inuyashiki hears a woman's pleas and runs to her aid, but it is too late and the woman is already dead. He looks inside to find Hiro standing above one of the victims, but before he can do anything, Hiro shoots him as well. Unbeknownst to him, Inuyashiki is the same as him, and he only managed to incapacitate Inuyashiki. The next day, the mysterious murder of the family is all over the news. Ando can't help but notice changes in Hiro's demeanor and the fact that he changed the amount of money in his bank just by touching the screen and withdrawing it to give it to Ando as a gift. Ando is not comfortable with Hiro's swindling practices and confronts Hiro about the murders. He would be lying if he said he was not afraid of Hiro's powers and wouldn't want to offend him, but Hiro forgives him and promises to protect his friend from any possible danger. Hiro has developed a god complex and feels he is invincible, but this only makes Ando even more uncomfortable and he breaks their friendship. Even after being transformed and bestowed with great powers, these two men still have to struggle with their fair share of problems in their lives. Hiro is being sent to live with his father because his mom has inoperable pancreatic cancer. While Inuyashiki finds money is being extorted from his son at school, his wife lost money in a Ponzi investment scheme, and his daughter thinks he is pathetic because he can't protect his family. As a father, he feels like a failure and is feeling lost when he hears someone's prayer asking God to help his friend Hiro from going astray and into the world of crime. Suddenly, Inuyashiki sees a glimpse of the man he encountered the other day and realizes his purpose and the reason why he was resurrected with powers. He decides he is going to save people from Hiro, and with this determination, he unlocks his ability to fly. He soon appears in front of Ando, who is sitting on a beach at the same park that changed his life. Ando pleads with him to save Hiro as no one is strong enough to stop him, and proposes to help him understand and train his powers as he has seen Hiro's powers. But Inuyashiki has a long way to go before he can become adept at using his abilities at will. After an intense practice session, Inuyashiki still can't control his powers as Hiro can, and burned out by the practice, he drinks a sports drink to keep himself hydrated, but expels it soon after, just like he did the first time he had food after being resurrected. Ando suspects sodium to be the culprit and his weakness, as both items contain large amounts of sodium. In the meantime, Hiro takes his mother to the hospital, and he, along with everybody, is surprised to find that the cancerous cells have disappeared from her pancreas. Hiro realizes his conviction not to let anything happen to his mother activated the healing capabilities that worked on her without him even knowing about it. Hiro and his mom are elated after the doctor gives them the good news, and Hiro promises to make his mom happy and proposes they move abroad. But their happiness is short-lived when Hiro finds himself surrounded by the police personnel, asking him to accompany them for questioning about the murders. Hiro runs, and soon a chase ensues, resulting in Hiro killing several officers. But he escapes, unscathed, baffling the officers who believe they shot him, but bullets had no effect on him. Soon after, Hiro's face is flashed on every news channel and the internet as a suspect in the recent killings, and he lurks in the shadows, but Shion finds him and takes him to her house. She lives with her grandmother and their TV is broken, so her grandmother doesn't have a clue that he is a suspect on the run. Later that evening, seeing his mother being grilled by the media, Hiro cries in guilt for subjecting her to such torment. Nothing could have prepared him to hear what comes as breaking news on the television. Not being able to handle the stress and the guilt of bearing such a son, Hiro's mother had taken her own life. Deeply upset by the cyberbullies who sent the media his mom's address, Hiro finds the person responsible and kills him through a screen and warns others that he's coming for them. And so the now soulless student cyberpunk does, killing each one of them. That night, Hiro reveals he is the killer and shows Shion his robotized body, but she still accepts him and he promises to take care of her forever. But that dream too remains unfulfilled, as one night a special assault team attacks Shion and Hiro, in which Shion loses her life. Enraged by the death of the only person left close to him, Hiro loses control and, in a fit of rage, goes on a killing spree. He still isn't done and plans to rest only after he has eliminated every person in Japan. Hiro hacks into the network and addresses the city through the screens, warning them of the oncoming destruction before he starts killing people watching him. Upon hearing the news, Inuyashiki pleads with his family to not go out, but he's dismissed as usual and even mocked by his daughter for his inability to protect his own family. He later meets Ando and learns of the shooting spree. Inuyashiki hacks into the servers and makes Ando record a message for the public to switch off their phones and computers as they can be targeted through the screen. Hiro realizes there is someone else like him, but it is not enough to stop Hiro, as he sends hundreds of small missiles and attacks various buildings, with Inuyashiki's daughter being in one of them. Just as he is about to fire the second volley, Inuyashiki intervenes and an epic battle ensues between the two cyborgs. In between the fight, Inuyashiki asks him to stop this madness and tricks Hiro into drinking the energy drink. The sodium doesn't affect him till he takes their fight into outer space. Once the sodium kicks in, Inuyashiki takes aim and shoots Hiro in his face, sending him crashing onto the Earth's surface, and Inuyashiki rushes to save his daughter. But to his horror, she is not breathing. He uses his power, but when it doesn't work, he gives her CPR, desperate to get his daughter back, until he hears a weak breath, and he again uses his powers to bring her back to life. His daughter breaks down and hugs Inuyashiki, but a sudden impact on his face sends him flying a few feet away. Hiro is back with his body intact, and he kills all the survivors before shooting Inuyashiki's daughter in her chest. He then turns to Inuyashiki and makes his daughter watch how her father is not human anymore, before throwing her out of the building. Inuyashiki's body heals itself, and the rage adds to his power, destroying Hiro's body while he flees outside the window to catch his daughter before she plummets to her death. He hugs her and heals her wounds and leaves her to save the others. After the incident, a public notice was issued confirming Hiro's death. However, his body was never found, indicating Hiro escaped. Inuyashiki and his daughter decide to keep Inuyashiki's secret to themselves, even though many people claim to have been saved by an older man, but the news goes unnoticed by his family. Sometime later, Hiro appears in Ando's room, waiting for him. Ando admits he is scared of Hiro, but he's glad his friend is alive. To mask his tears, he changes the topic and puts on a new video game, but when he turns, he finds Hiro gone. Probably it was too soon for Hiro to face a friend who never stopped looking out for him. And that's a wrap for this movie recap. Thanks for watching.